Hi, my name is Skylar Moe. I am in Physics 2211, and today I will be presenting what I learned from the public lecture Using Science to Predict the Future, an interactive discussion of induction and scientific reasoning. This lecture was presented by Professor Solomon on April 15, 2020. The main argument in this public lecture was to discuss how we can use all types of science and physics to predict the future. The main points discussed throughout the video include more of a brief history of scientific thought and a more conceptual vision of the future instead of using formulas and calculations like we do in physics. It was more of a broad look at science. And Professor Solomon mentions how we have used science to come to where we are today in the world and how we decided that certain predictions and knowledge that we use can be used to determine certain things in this world. And I thought it was really interesting to learn about people I already knew about, like Isaac Newton and other great scientists and philosophers that led to our scientific thought currently. And one of the main questions that was discussed was, why does the universe behave how it does? And there really isn't an explanation or a definitive explanation for why the universe does what it does. It pretty much has been behaving this way for a long time since we have been observing it. And it was explained how induction is what we have been using to try to be able to use history as a means to be able to predict what is going to happen in the future in this universe. And Professor Solomon referred to the philosopher David Hume, who said that there was nothing that could prove induction. And induction is the belief that things that happened in the past will happen again, given the same parameters and circumstances. And Solomon quoted David Hume saying that there is no reason why induction is a thing or it has to be a thing. Just because things have been happening the same way that they have been happening under the same parameters, that doesn't mean that it has to happen again. That's just what it does. And it certainly hasn't been proven that induction is a law. So the big question that is unanswered is, why does the universe behave the way it does? And why do we say it does? And throughout a lot of discussion and audience participation in the public lecture, the conclusion was that induction is something that we accept because we do not have another option, and the universe tends to act and behave the way that it has since we began to observe it. And I think that people latch onto the idea of induction because it is easier to think that the universe does what it does because it's been doing this instead of them not knowing. I think people like to have an answer in their mind rather than them not knowing. And overall, from this public lecture, I took away that our scientific beliefs could be proven wrong at any minute because the universe does not have to follow the same patterns it has been following, but that's what it has been doing, and that is the knowledge we are going to use to predict the future. And I thought this public lecture was really interesting because it was less of a calculation-based discussion. It was more of a broad discussion that involves science and more of a philosophical view. Thank you.